In this video we'll have a look at some of the methodological features of the Pioneer series. If I talked about all the methodology connected to the Pioneer series, this would be a very long video, so I'll just focus on some of the key features which aren't specifically mentioned in the other videos. In this video I'll quickly talk about such items as modular approach, skills integration, autonomous learning, and the 21st century competencies, or critical thinking. By modular approach we mean that every module has its own topic, and all tasks are loosely connected to this topic. Here you can see the titles of the modules of Pioneer Elementary and the topics dealt with. This way each topic can be dealt with in greater depth over a longer period of time. This makes it easier to learn vocabulary, but it also helps communication. This is especially true for the skills development part at the end of each module, since the students have already received all the necessary vocabulary, structures and ideas they need to do the task successfully. If we look at Module 7, which is about food, you can see what this means. In Lesson A, the students have a menu and a dialogue taking place in a restaurant. In Lesson B, there is a text about healthy food. Lesson C has a text about some foreign dishes and vocabulary connected to cooking and describing tastes. The task is about recipes, and Lesson D is about food and inviting somebody to a restaurant. Next comes skills integration. Imagine that you read an interesting article, write a comment about it on Facebook, and discuss it with a friend. Basically, this is skills integration, and this is a very natural way of using language. Pioneer has a similar approach by practicing different skills about the same topic in a logical way. This is also extended to include grammar and vocabulary. Let's look at a lesson from Pioneer Pre-Intermediate to see how this works. The lesson starts with a speaking exercise. In this case, a class discussion to introduce the topic. This is followed by a reading task. The reading task comes with a set of oral comprehension questions, so listening and speaking. The vocabulary exercise is based on words from the text, and this is rounded up with a post-reading class discussion about the topic of the text. After the text comes the grammar explanation based on structures already presented in the text. The pre-listening task is also a speaking activity. The listening task is about a similar topic as the reading text. The last part of the lesson is speaking and writing. The student should speak in pairs using the grammar structure and the ideas of the lesson, and write down a few sentences about what they discussed. As you can see, the whole lesson is about one topic, but we jump between the different skills in quite a logical way. This leads us to the next item, autonomous learning. When we are talking about autonomous learning, we aren't thinking about self-study, but about involving students in their own learning process. The level with which this can be done really depends on your students. This starts with the learning tips, which you can find at the back of Pioneer Beginners, Elementary and Pre-Intermediate. This section contains a lot of good advice on how to learn English more effectively, so it's worthwhile spending some time on this at the beginning of the school year. Another point of autonomous learning, which is easy to introduce, is self-assessment. On the cover page of each module, you can find the learning games of that module. So explain to the students that by the end of the module, this is what they should be able to do. At the end of the module, these aims come back, but in the form of self-assessment. You should ask your students if they feel they have achieved their aims. If so, they can tick the box, but if not, it's clear that they still need to revise. And you could help them by explaining what they can do. Of course, you don't have to wait until the end of the module. At any time, you could ask the students if they are satisfied with their progress. With autonomous learning, we can go a lot further, but a lot depends on the attitude of your students. For example, you can tell them to correct their own workbook exercises with the help of the answer key booklet. However, this doesn't work very well with many students. And finally, the 21st century competencies. Nowadays you can hear a lot about the 21st century competencies as one of the latest trends in ELT, of which especially the critical thinking skills are important. In this video, I don't have time to explain what these are and why they are important, but I would like to show you some examples. You can find them throughout the Pioneer series, but especially in the tasks. By looking at the bar graph and answering the questions, the students are classifying information, comparing and contrasting, identifying cause and effect. One of the tasks is to discuss the result in pairs, requiring the students to sequence the information. In the class discussion, the students need to compare the information to their own country, leading to self-expression, intercultural awareness, and personal and social responsibility. Here is another example. The text is about learning vocabulary, which asks the students to evaluate the information. In pairs, they need to discuss different techniques for learning a language, which requires creativity. By comparing ideas with another pair, they need to evaluate the different ideas and decide what might work. The whole task is a form of cooperative learning, which will lead to improved autonomous learning. If you are used to the Pioneer series, you will recognise that these 21st century competencies and critical thinking skills are developed throughout the series. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or problems, please contact your local representative and he or one of our teaching experts will be able to assist you.